Here we're going to take a look at downloading IRS forms. And first you need to get to the IRS website. That is www.irs.gov. Of course, you can add that as a favorite onto your toolbar, and that'll make it that much quicker. Once you're at the IRS website, over to the left, there's a section called Forms and Pubs, meaning publications. And some very commonly needed ones at that particular time are on here. So the 1040, which is one you'll be using a lot, is on there. The tax table, if you want to go straight to the tax table to look up a tax, you can do that. If you have one on here, the 1040 that you want, you can simply click on that and it brings up the form onto your screen. You can type on most of these forms. You can see here in the purple it says you can save data typed onto this form. And so you can type name, numbers on this form, etc., and then save it. It does save as a PDF. So unless you have specialized software, once you save it as a PDF, you can't then change it. So you have to make sure it's all the way you want it before you save it. But then you could save it as a PDF and then submit that onto Campus Cruiser if there was some form you need to do for homework. You can also just not print on the form, and you can just go ahead and say print this form out as a blank 1040 form, and then you could hand write onto it. And for homework purposes, you could then scan it and send it to me as an email attachment, or if you were in the face-to-face class, you can bring it in to class with you, the actual hard copy that you printed out. There will be some assignments where you have to bring in just a blank form. There are some assignments where you have to bring it in, where you have to type on it first and then print it and bring it in. And if you're in the online class, there are many, you generally do not have to do anything by hand. You would just type on this, save it as a PDF, and upload it to me for that. Now, if what you want is not on this little section here, then you will click on this Forms and Pubs tab, and then you can get current year forms or prior year forms. For this class, we'll be using current forms, and so you can click on that button. And there are like 1,000,001 forms on here, many pages. So you have to put in the search box what it is that you want. So if you want a Schedule C, you have to put that in. Now sometimes you put things in and the IRS doesn't like how you've put it in. You've spelled something differently than how they have it put in, and you have to fiss and fudge it with it. Now here is all the Schedule C's that they have. Some belong to the Form 1040, some belong to the Form 1065 or the Form 5713. All have a Schedule C. Of course, in this class we're working with individual taxes, so we will be working with a Form 1040. Now there is this Schedule C, which is this first one listed, but there's also the Form 1040 Schedule CEZ, which you can also use if you were in certain situations. When we get later into the semester, we'll discuss whether you need to use a CEZ or a C. But both of these are here along with instructions. INST means instructions for that Schedule C. So if you just wanted one of the Schedule C forms, you can just click on it. It brings it up. Again, it says you can save data, and so you can type on this and then save it as a PDF. There are occasional forms on the IRS which do not allow you to save them, do not allow you to print on them. And they're there for informational purposes only. You can print out a blank one of those, but you're not allowed to actually use it or send it to the IRS. Okay? If I put in 1040, I get not only a bunch of stuff related to the 1040, but I also get the instructions. So that is right below this top one. And the instructions, if you're in the face-to-face class, is what you can bring to exams. And so I highly recommend you print out the whole thing and you put notes in it and you put little sticky note tabs, etc. For those of you in the online section, you should have ready access to this, and I would highly suggest that you too at least print out some of the more important parts for that exam so that you have them printed and sitting in front of you and don't have to take a bunch of time flipping back and forth into screens, because the tests are tightly timed. Okay, here's the instruction booklet. They have the table of contents with pages on it. So if we wanted to take a look at what you should do to assemble your return, we can click on that link and it'll take us right to that page, and we can read about how the return needs to be assembled, and we'll talk about that later in the semester. Okay? A lot of times it's helpful to look after the table of contents, to look at one of the first few pages, what's new. So this discusses those things which have happened since last year. A lot of this page talks about the new Health Care Act and how it affects tax returns for 2014. Okay, but there'll always be a lot of new type things. There are worksheets. Here is Chart A for who needs to file a return. This is in your textbook, exactly like this, but it's also here in the 1040 instruction booklet. Chart A, Chart B, and Chart C that we go over in lecture, how to use those. There are other worksheets. Here's a worksheet here on Social Security benefits. Sometimes Social Security is tax-free. Sometimes part of Social Security can be taxable. And so here's a worksheet here, and you can print this out and just by hand. It's nothing that you're going to send to the IRS, but you can just print it out and by hand fill out the lines and calculate whether or not or how much of the Social Security of this particular taxpayer is taxable and how much of it is taxable, and that you have to put on the line on your 1040, etc. So there are a number of these types of worksheets which are very helpful. Alright, there are some tax tables also in the instruction booklet. Here's the earned income credit table. Notice it says this is not a tax table. Okay, so when you're trying to look up a tax, you have to make sure you're in the tax table. And when you're looking up earned income credit, you need to make sure you're in the earned income credit table. They look kind of the same. Okay. So here is the tax table. It says tax table right at the top of each page. And you will look up a tax under the proper amount and the proper filing status. You can also look up publications as well as forms. So the IRS prefers for you to put in PUBL as opposed to the whole word publication. So here's publication 970, tax benefits for education. And so if you had to pay for any of your schooling here at OC Tech yourself and it wasn't completely taken care of by Pell Grant, then you can get a credit for that amount that you paid. And this publication is a big booklet of instructions about how to qualify for getting that credit, how much is the credit, how to fill out the forms, etc., etc. Back on this page, there are some other forms which you can get off of that page by clicking on them. We will be using the Form 1040A on some of our problems, and so that might be one. Or you can go into current forms and pubs and then type in the search box 1040 with a capital A after it. Okay, you can also, if you need for your own personal self, you can put in under prior years. And if I put in 1040 there's the Form 1040 for 2014 that we're going to use this year. But here's also the Form 1040 for 2013 and the instructions. Here's Form 1040 for 2012 and the instructions for that. So it goes on down, as you can see, many years, okay, on into the beginning of the 2000s and whatnot. So lots of forms that you can get for other years as well as for 2014 that we'll be working in this particular class. Or 2015 or whatever year that we are working in. There's the current year, and then you can get prior year forms. This concludes downloading IRS forms.